There we go. So just got back from Mexico. Spent the weekend. Left in the beginning of the weekend. I was off for a couple of days. Had about 6 days off from work. So I spent about half of that in Mexico. Went down to the beach down in Mexico. Had a good time. Got a little bit. Well, if you can see, a little bit of a tan while I was down there. And of course, we're now back in Arizona. I actually drove. I drove to Mexico. It was about 5 hours or so drive, and it was a beautiful drive for the most part. For the most part, it was a beautiful drive. But along the way there, especially when you're driving along the border, like as soon as you leave the border of Arizona and go right into Mexico, the amount of poverty is staggering. It is staggering to see the level of poverty that is literally, you know, within just a few miles of the American Mexican border. And people wonder why many of these people flood into the country. You know, I want to see if I can post maybe in this video, I'll post a little clip of what I had, some stuff that I had taken over the border. But there are huge portions of Mexico that are just in abstract poverty, and in America too. I don't get me wrong, and I think that's one of the benefits. You know, I work as a travel nurse, so and I drive everywhere. I've driven cross country. I drove from New York. From New York, I went down to Virginia Beach. I took a little vacation before starting my contract. Ended up in Houston. I did a video talking about my short stay when I was in Houston and the amount of poverty that I saw in Houston. And from Houston going to Arizona, you see a lot of poverty in the United States, like third world levels of poverty that most Americans probably don't exist. There, people living in shacks, and you'll be like, oh, maybe it's abandoned. And I'm like, no, I see children, I see communities. It's not just like one person. It'll be like, I'll put the video in this video maybe right after making this point. But this isn't the point of the video. Point of the video was talking about how the standard of living in America is obviously going to continue to fall. Nearly, I want to say 1 out of 5 Americans, excuse me, 1 out of 4. 1 out of 4 Americans identify as disabled. And 8 out of 10 of these individuals is roughly about 61 million. 8 out of 10 are not in the labor force. Now, if you've seen the statistics, over 100 million Americans do not participate in the labor force, meaning 1 out of every 3 Americans do not work. Well, how do you think these people sustain themselves? Overwhelmingly, it's going to be off of some form of socialism. Whether it's you're a socialist and you're at the top of the food chain, or you're a socialist and you're somewhere in the middle of the food chain, or you're a socialist and you're somewhere at the bottom of the food chain. Because most of these people that people live at the top just basically steal from the people in the middle and they steal from the people at the bottom. And it's just what do they call it? Champagne socialism, right? Just look at the Bernie Sanders, the Obamas, right? Most of these politicians that do not work, they don't have businesses, they neither provide a service nor do they provide a product, and that's all that an economy is. An economy is a good or it's a service, right? It's a camera like what I'm using, or it's a service like you need a nurse. And that's all that an economy is. And for many of these individuals, they do not participate in the economy. And so our economy here in the United States has to pull from goods and services that are offered overseas. Now, of course, the only reason that America is able to do this is because they're the world reserve currency. But as we're seeing, more and more countries do not want to utilize the dollar because they saw what America did to Russia, where they kicked Russia off of the SWIFT system. And it was basically like, if you tweeted something and the government says, we don't like what you tweeted, and then Bank of America calls you up and say, not only can you no longer bank with us, but we're also going to take your money. And that's basically what the United States did to Russia, hoping that they would bully Russia out of the space. And Russia is a commodity producer. They produce commodities, oil and natural gas, and many other resources, right? Ukraine is right next door. They produce a lot of wheat. And so, obviously, people need those more then they need pieces of paper that are printed by the United States. And most of the currency isn't even printed by the United States, it's typed into on a computer, and then they send it to them electronically. And that's how most dollars, I think there's only like 15% of all dollars actually exist in physical form. Now, of course, we know that this is going to go away as the system continues to collapse. And so they need a central bank digital currency. They basically need programmable money for you and for them. For a lot of those people that America owes money to, because all they do is print money and create debt, they reserve the right, when it all comes to an end, that they can say, we're going to turn your money off, the citizen, and we will turn off the money of those who live abroad that we owe money to, right? For example, just like Russia, right? America owed Russia money. They stole 300 billion. It was 300 billion. Maybe it was 300 million. I forget off the top of my head. But they stole a good chunk of Russian wealth, and they just basically yeeted Russia off of the system and said, you can't do business with our banking system. And so other countries, right, if that happened to you with Bank of America, you're going to start to talk to your friends, say, hey, look what happened to me. Look what happened to look what Bank of America did to me. And other people are going to see what happened to you, and they're going to start to think, maybe I shouldn't be doing business with Bank of America either. And that's exactly what's happening to the United States, where other countries are like, if we do something they don't like, they'll kick us off the SWIFT system. They'll kick us off of the system, and then we're going to be asked out. And so that's why you see more and more people wanting to align with Russia. That only bodes negative for the inhabitants of the United States, because as more and more nations do not want to do business with the United States, or do not want to do business in the dollar, and don't need the government to print all of these dollars, then America won't be able to buy the resources and the products and goods and services that they need from people abroad. They'll just say, you know what, we'll do business as our currency, or we'll do business in the yuan, or we'll do business in the ruble. And they'll eventually, right, because necessity is the mother of invention, and because there is a necessity now because of what America did basically and with the West. And so this is the inevitable outcome of what the small group of people that are basically at the top understand. They're going to try to fight and control countries. This is basically what the new WHO treaty, right, the World Health Organization basically treaty does, is it makes other countries that are reliant on the West, and this is just basically outright makes them vassal nations, where you have to send us money, you have to send us tribute, and we'll let you know how much that tribute is. Just like the United States does with Europe. All those countries that don't join NATO need to contribute 2% of their GDP to the United States for military spending, right? So, and who do they buy from? They buy from the United States. The United States will just sell them. They'll just, hey, we need you to, there's a potential for a war. We're going to start selling you, you need to prepare for X, Y, and Z. Or what the WHO treaty does, which it says to other countries, there is a potential for pandemic, you need to shut down. You're taking up too much resources. Or the climate change narrative, right? So you can't use natural gas. You can't use oil. Oil is bad. We can't use oil. And they say this to other second and third world countries, which is what happened with Sri Lanka, where Sri Lanka was not allowed to use natural gas, nitrites, in the forms of fertilizer. What did it result in? Food shortages. What did that result in? Now they had to become importers from the West. And that was how the West was basically able to pull in money from them, but it backfired. The country collapsed, etc., right? This is what the outcome inevitably will be with the global socialist system that we have, where you have people in the West that don't produce enough to maintain their own standard of living, so they have to socialize other countries, typically poor countries with cheap labor, so that they can enjoy a higher standard of living. And this is basically what has been going on for a very long time. This is the whole purpose of the introduction of central banks. This is the whole purpose of why So I think it's like 70% of all countries have a central bank, because once you can control the currency, then you basically control the country. And this is the same thing that happens in the United States. And so, with that being said, with so many people not participating in the United States, this is what causes shortages and, of course, why things are so expensive. When you look at healthcare, people complain about why is it so costly? Because you have a lot of people that don't pay into the system. I treat many of these patients that do not take care of themselves. There's no incentive for them to take care of themselves. They'll go out, they'll do drugs, they'll eat poorly, and then they come back into the hospital, the next month. They don't follow what the doctor tells them, and there's no incentive for them to do so in terms of a monetary paying for it, because these individuals will just come right back and you pay for it via taxation. And so this is why 20% of Americans or 25% of Americans can sit here and identify as being disabled and basically live off of the system. This is why 100 million Americans cannot participate in the labor market and still draw an income. Now, of course, people say, oh, these people invested in the stock market. The stock market is just socialism. That's all that it is. It gets young people who want cheaper taxes now, and they put their money into a Roth IRA, or they put their money into a 401k or a 403b, hoping that the generation that comes behind them will also be able to add to that money so that their stocks go higher, and then they can cash out, and then the next group does it. It's just a pyramid scheme. It's been a pyramid scheme since the introduction of a central bank, because once you can print money, it just becomes a Ponzi scheme. And that's basically what the stock market is. That's why you see so much corruption in the stock market. That's why you see so much corruption in real estate. You have the Kiyosaki's of the world, and of course he thinks he's a high IQ, and all he's doing is just taking advantage of the broken system, because they'll buy real estate because there's a limited number of houses. They know the government is going to print. That's why the government gives you a very low 1, 2, 3% interest loan. Same thing with education. And so what happens, right? The cost rises because there's only so many houses, just like there's only so many seats at college. There's only so many professors, only so many students they can teach. So what does that do to the cost of the seats? What does it do to the costs of the houses? You have more dollars chasing fewer seats, fewer resources, fewer homes. So the price goes higher. So if you got into the Ponzi scheme at the bottom, you're sitting pretty. If you were bought into the stock market in the 70s and you're here at 2023, you're sitting pretty. If you are investing now, thinking that there's another generation that's going to come behind you and buy into the stock market, this is why most young people who are my age and younger realize there's not going to be no Social Security for you. It's all that welfare is going to go away. The government might be able to give you X amount of dollars, but who knows what those dollars are going to be worth, realistically speaking, right? So the government is in essence producing the Weimar Germany, the system that resulted in Weimar Germany. This is why you see them push so hard that everything that is productive is right-wing extremist. Are you in the gym? Are you sitting there getting swole? Or you must be a right-wing extremist. Do you believe in two-parent households and that your children you're responsible for your children? You must be a right-wing extremist. You must be one of those funny mustache people. Do you believe in hard work? Do you believe in small government? Do you believe in protecting yourself? You must be a right-wing extremist. Why? Because the cure for what they advocate for is personal responsibility, and small government and relying on yourself for protection are all things that typically people who are more on the right view. And this is why they push so hard against people like Donald Trump or white people. Everything is white supremacy, and this is in essence the system that was created back in the 1900s. And that's why they push so hard and push everything as white. Everything is a right race. Everything is a right wing extremism. If you believe in any of these things, if you're a MAGA hat person, and you're part of the funny mustache brigade, because they're creating the system that existed back then, and they know what the outcome of that is, and they're just trying to extend it. Right? They're kicking the can down the road, as they say. the result will be the same level of poverty that was seen in Germany. And that's why the people voted for the funny guy with the funny mustache, because he promised to bring them back, right? Make America great again, right? He made Germany great again. And when that happens, the people remember. The weak get cold, and the strong make a new system. What happened? They remembered what all those other nations around them did to them before. People want to sit here and pretend like Germany was that Germany did this for no reason. It wasn't because of no reason. It was because they were basically enslaved after World War One, and this is what created the funny mustache guy. The same thing is going to happen in America. That's why you see them talking so much about everything as extremism, everything as, you're part of the Yahtzee club, because they know eventually what will happen, and they're just trying to beat it back. They're trying to put it into the minds of the people that, oh, don't go this route. This is bad. Cut your daughter's breasts off. Cut your son's balls off. This is what they want, because they want to create the exact same sort of system. It'll only result in death. For most people that are looking to survive, it always is the same thing. Personal responsibility. During the jab, if you had your own land, if you homeschooled your kids, if you had your own business, you didn't care what the government said. I didn't have to worry about sending my kids to school because you say they need a jab. I homeschool my children. They don't need to have a jab in my home. You worry about, you can't come to our supermarkets. That's okay. I have my own land. I'll grow my own food. I'll raise my own animals. I will protect myself. I don't need your police. And this is what they fear, because when you don't need them, then there is no existence for them. And they require the masses. They require the masses because they don't produce anything. They don't produce anything. And so this is why I say, if you want to avoid much of the pangs that many Americans are going to face, you're going to have to be personally responsible for yourself. For your health, you're going to have to exercise. The healthcare system is shit. I work in it for the past 12 years. And I see a lot of what goes on. And a lot of times people don't even realize. I've said this in numerous videos. The third leading cause of death is medical error. Meaning you come into the hospital, there's a 1 out of 3 chance that it's our fault that you died. Because it could be related to heart disease, number one killer. And depending if you're a male or a female, it's cancer or diabetes. And then the third leading cause of death is medical error. So if you take care of yourself and you come into the hospital for something benign, as an instance, I'll talk about this, at where I'm at here in Arizona. And there was a guy, it was an elderly man, who came in for a hip replacement. He came in for a routine hip replacement. And because the guy, I believe, had diabetes, and they didn't take off his compression stockings, and they didn't look at his feet, they didn't do a proper skin check. What happened was, they saw that the guy there was something in the stocking that was digging into the foot that caused a wound. Now, because the guy was diabetic, wounds don't heal well with diabetes. So for a guy who came in for a routine hip replacement where he should have been in for a day and out and into physical therapy, he ended up losing his leg. He had a brand new hip for a leg that no longer existed. And that happens numerous times in the hospital. I took care of patients where somebody got too much fluid. Patient got too much fluid, but they already had CHF. Now they're full of edema. Then they end up with pneumonia because that fluid backs up into the lung. And I've seen patients that die that way. This is the outcome. It's why it's so important to take care of yourself, because you never know what the outcome of it will be in a hospital, especially as the system starts to go down. You have fewer nurses for more patients. You have fewer nurses for more patients. This is why in New York, and I've talked about this often, you see a lot of nurses going on strike because they're saying, we can't take care of all these patients. We have 6, 7, 8, maybe even 9 patients on a med-surg floor. They're trying to push 3 or maybe even 4 patients in an ICU where it should be 1 to 2. And it's because you have less and less people willing to contribute to the system, and more people dependent upon the system. It always ends in disaster. This is why you look at places like in Canada and they're euthanizing their elderly, because they realize we can't take care of you. The best we can do is put a needle in your arm and give you a quiet death, or you can sit here and suffer in a nursing home or end up losing your life in a hospital. I'll tell you another story. I took care of this patient, let's say on a Friday. The guy came in for chest pain. He was oxygen dependent, and so he had an oxygen monitor on his finger. He's on telemetry to monitor his heart. The next night, Saturday, I got floated to another unit. Sunday, I came back. Someone else had that patient. The guy arrested. When the aides came around like 2 or 3 o'clock in the morning, the guy was non-responsive. He went into what is called PEA arrest. So on the telemetry monitor, you still look like you're alive, but because they forgot to put the pulse ox monitor on him, the guy went into an arrest. But nobody noticed it. The guy died. Now, I knew that the guy required oxygen. I had him the day before, on Friday, and I knew when the guy got up to go to the bathroom, he'd get short of breath, his oxygen would dip. Who knows what happened to that guy? But because, again, like I said, number 3 leading cause of death is medical error. And there are many nurses that could tell you many stories of inadequate care in the hospital setting. This is what you get with socialism. This is what you get with socialism. And poor work ethic. It is what it is. This video is getting way longer than I wanted. But back from Mexico, had a good time. It was beautiful and sunny. I'll share some of the pictures that I had taken here. And anyway, I'll catch you next time. Let me know what your opinion is below. How do you see, in your neck of the woods, do you see a good future for many of the youth? It's probably why many of these people keep advocating for communism. It is what it is. Socialism always ends the same. It ends with shortages, it ends with deaths, and it ends in communism as the resources dwindle up. It is what it is. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.